What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given here with your afternoon snap, and today there is a new weekend mission in the game where you've got to win 15 games with Patriot, and here is a fun Patriot list that I have been playing recently, Patriot Silver Surfer. But I'm going to pause this game for a second. Let's just go over the deck list for one sec. I call this Power Patriot Silver Surfer, or just Power Silver Surfer, because the goal of this deck is to create the most power. I mean, that's the goal of any Marvel Snap deck, right? And I think that a lot of Silver Surfer lists can get distracted. They're playing cards like Juggernaut and Storm and trying to control the lanes. Well, what if you just control the lanes by winning those locations, by playing cards that add the most power to those locations? I'm playing 3 different 2-cost cards, which I think is basically ideal with a Silver Surfer curve. You want to play 1 2-cost card on turn 2 and 1 2-cost card on turn 5. On turns 3, 4, and 5, you want to play a 3-cost card, and then you want to end the game by playing a 3-cost card and Silver Surfer to finish the game off. And all of the 3-cost cards that we're playing, for the most part, are just about adding the most power by themselves. No crazy synergies, though we do get into a little bit of synergies, and I'll talk about that now. So Maximus and Wolfsbane are both 3/7s. It's pretty good. And then we play a bunch of 3/6s. We play Swordmaster, Groot, Mr. Fantastic, and Brood. 3/6 is pretty good rate. You'll notice that we're not even running Polaris in this deck. Polaris is just a 3/5. So while normal Silver Surfer lists tend to run Polaris, part of the thing that drew me to this deck and was the idea that we could just run a bunch of cards that are bigger than like the big card that is often seen in other Silver Surfer lists. And by the way, the game that we are about to watch is a Silver Surfer mirror. Now, if you're not super interested in this exact list, I could also recommend the Patriot Iron Lad list that I posted probably a week or so ago. That deck is still strong, but if you're looking for something different, I think that this one is a lot of fun. I've been working on it now for a little bit, still doing some tweaks, and I don't think everything is necessarily perfect, but it's a lot of fun. Wolfsbane is really good with Brood, and then also Mr. Sinister, which is really just in the deck to be a 2/4. You run Mr. Sinister as a 2/4 and Medusa as a 2/5. I've really been wanting to just put Medusa into a Silver Surfer list and just have it be a strong card that you play on turn 2. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. Invisible Woman can also work with Wolfsbane, and Wolfsbane also works with the Mr. Sinister. And then once I'm playing the Mr. Sinister and the Brood, I felt like Patriot was pretty good. Patriot is a 3/5 just with Brood. Gets to a 3/7 if you have Mr. Sinister, and then can be even a little bit more if you have the Debris. Debris obviously being the weakest card, but Debris is kind of a 3/7 if you have a Patriot in play. So that was kind of the justification there, and you know, it works out. It's strong enough, and I guess to compare it here, I thought one thing that we could do is we could take a look at a Silver Surfer Patriot, Power Patriot Silver Surfer, against a traditional Silver Surfer list. So that's what this first game is going to be, and then I'm going to look at Power Patriot Silver Surfer against a traditional Patriot list. Both of these games I just played today on the ladder, and we'll see how they go. In this first game, I get Vatu from the hub, which is a card I don't play with often, but it's fun here to be able to see that Hala is location number 3, and then we've got the Great Web, and of course the hub I already mentioned. My opponent Scorpions me to start off the game. Definitely not a bad card, and I think that Scorpion could potentially make its way into this list if you wanted it to. I just really wanted to play Medusa. I'm playing Mr. Sinister because of the synergies with Patriot, and Invisible Woman just does a lot in Patriot or Silver Surfer lists in general. It can also see some play in Patriot lists, but in this list in particular, it stops your Swordmaster and your Maximus from triggering, in addition to the normal stuff that it would do. like hiding your cards and delaying your Silver Surfer trigger, but it also delays those Swordmaster and Maximus triggers, so you don't have to worry about those drawbacks until the final turn, and you can afford to just play a 3-6 or a 3-7 in your deck. Now sometimes you just run them out, sometimes you play them on the final turn. There's a lot of different interesting curves that come up with this deck. On turn 4, I'm going to drop Debris into Hala. We already have 2 power there with Mr. Fantastic. Most players will probably avoid it, and we can see by the Goose and the Juggernaut and the Nova that my opponent is running like the normal Silver Surfer list. They run Nova just alongside Killmonger, and I'm like half expecting that maybe my rocks will get blown up here, especially because I'm going to wind up dropping the Patriot this turn, but I just think it's the best option for my curve. I don't really want to play Maximus and give my opponent more options, and I might actually want to just play a different card next turn instead. There we can see the Polaris that I was making fun of. My opponent playing Polaris, a 3-5. I'm just playing Medusa, a 2-5. If I'm going to spend 3 energy for something, I want it to have more than just 5 power. Come on. This is Power Patriot Silver Surfer. So on the final turn of the game, you'll get to see just how much power this deck gets to drop. We're at 2 power currently in the Hala, and of course the best play that a Silver Surfer deck can make without Serra. By the way, no Serra in this list. And I do want to break that down a little bit because Serra is very commonly seen. Let me pause right here. This is a prettier screenshot. Serra is very commonly seen in Silver Surfer lists, but all you're basically doing with Serra is playing a 2-4, and a 2-4 is good. It's basically the same rate as Mr. Sinister without Patriot, or a little bit worse than Medusa. And why do I say that playing Serra is like playing a 2-4? Well, here's the different curve options for a Silver Surfer list. On turn 5, you can play a 3-cost card and a 2-cost card, and then let's separate them here. 3-cost card and a 2-cost card, and then on turn 6 you can play 2 3-cost cards. Or you can play Serra on turn 5, and then on turn 6 play 3 3-cost cards. Either way, you're going to play 3 3-cost cards in total. It's just, do you want to play a 2-cost card or do you want to play a Serra? There's trade-offs for each. Serra is always going to get hit by the Pig, the Spider Ham, and playing just more 2-cost cards I feel like allows you to be a little bit more consistent, though it isn't horrible to have Serra kind of take the bait for Spider Ham and make sure that your Silver Surfer never gets hit. But just something to consider there. But here we go. Let's take a look at this final turn of the game. We're going to play Silver Surfer plus Brood, and my opponent is also going to play Brood plus Silver Surfer, though ours have a little bit more power because of that Patriot. So I thought this was a really fun game to showcase. Obviously, it's not just white and black, but it is it's a pretty good example to show, okay, my opponent is playing these like cute tech cards. I'm just slamming a bunch of power onto the table, and I'm winning because of it. I mentioned I also wanted to showcase a game that I played earlier against another Patriot list. A lot of people playing Patriot today because you have to get those 15 wins this weekend. And yeah, just playing normal Patriot I think is also a fine way to go about it. But this is something else you can try out if you're feeling adventurous. A little no luck's given special here. Washington, D.C. is our 3rd location, and I was initially just planning on playing the Brood into the Kiln. However, now I'm going to go for Groot. I think that my opponent will still battle for the Kiln, even though I'm up by 5. And when I hit them with the Groot, I go ahead and snap. We are going to see that they play a Brood, so they'll not be able to play Brood into Washington, D.C., which kind of hints that they may have other cards that they are planning on playing into Washington, D.C. later. I'm going to throw Patriot into Kiln. Kind of gives away a little bit that we have Patriot and we have some Patriot shenanigans going on, but I do think it's good to run the Patriot into the Kiln because I can potentially pump it up with Silver Surfer later, and don't really have a huge interest in playing Cosmo into the Kiln. It's not going to stop anything at this point, so Patriot into the Kiln will add a little bit more power there and also add a little bit more power elsewhere. This is a really interesting turn, actually. So we've got Invisible Woman as our 2-cost card to play alongside Brood, but I'm actually going to play Brood first, and I'm going to play Invisible Woman not connected to the... I want this Brood to get revealed because I'm going to play Silver Surfer in a different location. The reason I don't play Invisible Woman in that same location is I was thinking I might try to Cosmo my opponent here. Now, my opponent actually has priority, which I realized before I hit the end turn button. Their Patriot is pumping up their Broods, but we will be able to win that center location back with our Silver Surfer. That will add 4 more power into the kiln, and then we'll be winning there by 2. So I'm going to play Swordmaster plus Silver Surfer. That should probably win Vibranium Mines, and my opponent has Ultron, and what I wasn't expecting is this Ultron actually pumps up Dazzler. The drones are obviously really big, but my Silver Surfer is going to make my Broodlings just that much stronger with the help from my Patriot. I win Washington, D.C. 25-24, and I win in the Vibranium Mines 10-9. So every point of power definitely mattering in this game. Getting the Groot trigger, playing the 2/5 off of Medusa, and you can see just how important making sure that you get every power out of every single one of your cards is, and I think that this game is definitely a good advertisement or a good sell for Power Patriot Silver Surfer. If you want to see more of this deck in action, subscribe and stay tuned. I did play some Conquest matches with it last season, and I'm sure I will showcase those at some point. But almost forgot to mention this too, because Cosmo is clearly in this game, but not actually in this list. I do think that this list has a lot of room for flexibility. In this second game, I was trying out no debris, but Cosmo in the deck instead. Now, the deck also does have a lot of different on-reveal effects, like Cosmo, Wolfsbane, Medusa, Mr. Sinister Brood, and Silver Surfer, obviously, are not synergistic with each other, and Groot. But Cosmo is synergistic with Swordmaster and Maximus, and Cosmo's just a really good tech card, so I was trying it out for those reasons. Thought it could be cool if you use Cosmo early to stop what your opponent is doing and then later on get some synergies with it and Swordmaster, and I thought that might be worth it over the power that Debris can bring, which is one of the weaker cards in the deck. Debris and potentially Wolfsbane, potentially even Mr. Fantastic, because you're oftentimes, I mean, you don't need to win all 3 lanes in a game of Marvel Snap. So there's definitely some room to experiment with this deck. You can try out some other 2-drops, and honestly, you don't even have to play Patriot, other than this weekend, obviously, because that's the reason that I'm showcasing this deck. But all of that is just to say there's a lot of different ways to build Silver Surfer, so feel free to experiment and let me know what you come up with in the comments down below. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.